the most important things that we can do for ourselves or for our parents or our loved ones is have an understanding when we're looking at, say, an assisted living community or some sort of elder care option. Understand what kind of care can be provided and what the cost is going to be and what is going to happen if I outlive my assets. Does this community that I'm looking at accept public funding, county funding, state funding? And if it does, how do they really administer it? Because the important thing to understand is that participation in public county funded programs is voluntary. So some communities may ask or have an expectation that you can pay 1, 2, 3 years privately before you outlive your assets. Other communities may have an expectation that you never live out your assets. And if you do, they don't have a program that will allow you to stay there. So when you're looking at options, you need to make a sustainable choice from the care perspective, meaning the choice that you make, you need to understand that if my mom with dementia starts wandering, for example, that they're going to be able to take care of her, that they have a plan in place. Either they have a secure, building, or they have some sort of wander guard system, or if my dad is a big man, my dad is 225 pounds, 6'2", and he has a stroke, he might become a 2-person transfer. He might need 2 people to help him in and out of bed or into his wheelchair or to the toilet. Are they going to be able to provide that for him? And then ultimately, after we've decided, that we've figured out what's going to be right from a care and a cost perspective, now we need to look at the community and what is going to be right for my loved one. I always use the example of my grandma who died of Alzheimer's and my mother-in-law. She doesn't know that I use her as an example, by the way, but that's okay. The point being is that my grandma who died of Alzheimer's, she was a blue-collar grandma. She had 9 children. She was a cook, not a chef. She cooked in a factory. She cooked in a nursing home. She cooked in a school. She sat at her kitchen table with coffee and her word search books or with a romance novel and had a vinyl tablecloth for every holiday. Now, my mother-in-law, she's a country club lady. We call her Fancy Nancy. And the places that I would choose for my grandmother and my mother-in-law are going to be very different. That community feel, that vibe is going to, have a significant impact on how well they adjust and how well they assimilate into the community. Fancy Nancy's going to need a place that has, a dining room with cloth tablecloths and cloth napkins.
And she'll dress for
dinner. Whereas my grandmother, if that was the type of community that we had chosen for her, she would have felt like the house. So it's very important that we look at the person and their history when we're making a decision. A lot of these places, they're building for us because as adult daughters or sons, because they know that we have such a significant part in the decision. We can be very, very impressed by what's available, but we have to think about the person who's going to be living there ultimately, because they need to get the care that they need. We need to know that they need to be able, that they can be there through the end of life, and they have to, they have to fit in.
Yeah, bottom line, if you have care that works for you today and into the future, and it's something that is sustainable in terms of the financial piece of it, the community can then be a very easy part of it. It's kind of like college campus shopping, where does this feel right to me? Because there's certainly a lot of different choices and options out there with very different vibes.